Welcome to Roll Credits, where movie lovers get the trivia they didn't know they needed. This podcast was created with a little help from AI tools. We do our best to keep things accurate and fun, but some details might slip through, so double-check if you're quoting this at your next movie night. Today, we're hitting the gas with F1. The movie, Joe Kosinski's adrenaline-fueled cinematic experience that puts real race cars, real drivers, and Brad Pitt behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's a seriously ambitious project, really trying to change the game for how you experience something like Formula One in a cinema.
Totally. And what's fascinating, like you hinted, is how they tackled it. It wasn't just about telling a story. It was almost, well, like an engineering challenge, right? Pushing film tech to its limits.
Exactly. It's like they wanted to solve the problem of how to put you, the viewer, inside that car, feeling everything.
So that's what we're diving into today with F1, the movie. And it's clear right from the start, this isn't just, another racing movie. It's aiming higher, trying to capture that raw, visceral feeling of F1.
And that whole high-octane mission, it really starts at the top with the core vision and the people making it happen.
Let's talk about the director, Joe Kosinski. This wasn't exactly a sudden idea for him, was it?
No, not at all. He's apparently wanted to make a racing film for ages. It goes back to his work on Tron. Legacy way back in 2010. He was already exploring how to put audiences right into these high-speed worlds.
Right. But it was Top Gun, Maverick, that really kicked things into high gear.
Absolutely. Maverick was the proof of concept. He showed everyone, hey, I can put you inside an F-18 jet. You can feel the G-forces. You can feel the speed.
And he wanted to do the same for an F1 car.
Precisely. That same level of total immersion, but this time crammed into that tiny, incredibly fast F1 cockpit. He wanted you to feel it, not just watch it.
Makes sense. And when you've got that kind of big vision, you need some heavy hitters alongside you. Enter Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah, I mean, Bruckheimer's name is basically synonymous with massive blockbusters. Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean, the original Top Gun.
And he's got racing cred too, right? Days of Thunder.
He does.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he wasn't like a massive F1 fanatic initially, but he instantly got the drama. He had that great quote, something like,
"They're going 220 miles an hour. It's really dramatic. It's exciting."
That's the one. Simple, direct, captures exactly why F1 is so compelling and, perfect for his style of filmmaking. High stakes, high speed.
It feels like a perfect match, really. Kosinski's vision, Bruckheimer's blockbuster experience.
It really does. And what's interesting, even with all the cutting-edge tech they ended up using, they actually looked back for inspiration.
Oh, yeah. To what?
To those classic racing movies from the 60s and 70s. Stuff like Le Mans with Steve McQueen and Grand Prix by John Frankenheimer.
Ah, okay. Films known for their practical effects, right? Real cars, real tracks.
Exactly. Kosinski specifically mentioned the whole practical nature of this film being inspired by them. He said you can still watch those old movies and just marvel at the cinematography, the feeling of really being there because, well, they were really there.
So capturing it in camera, on location, was key, not just relying on CGI.
That was fundamental.
Right.
A commitment to that kind of timeless authenticity.
And it wasn't just Kosinski and Bruckheimer driving this. There's some serious star power involved behind the scenes, too.
Oh, absolutely. You can't talk about authenticity in this film without mentioning Lewis Hamilton.
7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. His involvement seems pretty crucial.
Hugely crucial. He's not just lending his name. He's a producer, creative consultant. His expertise, it's invaluable. He's been involved in shaping the script, making sure the technical details are right.
I heard he was even correcting things like gear ratios in post-production.
Yeah. That level of detail. It shows you how deep his involvement goes. And of course, Brad Pitt isn't just the star, he's also a producer. So you've got this real investment from the top names involved.
When you have someone like Hamilton, who lives and breathes F1, working so closely with Hollywood pros like Bruckheimer and Pitt, it signals they're serious.
It really does. They're not just aiming for spectacle. They want to capture the soul of the sport, make it feel real, even within a fictional story.
Okay, speaking of the story, let's get into that. The heart of F1, the movie. It revolves around a fictional team, right?
That's right, APXGP. They're positioned as the fictional 11th team on the current F1 grid.
Which is a pretty clever way to do it, I think.
It really is.
Yeah.
It lets them create their own drama without being tied to a specific real team's history. Gives them narrative freedom, but within that authentic F1 world.
And the main character, played by Brad Pitt, is Sonny Hayes. Tell us about him.
So Sonny Hayes is this former F1 driver, apparently from back in the 90s. His career got cut short by a really bad crash, forced him to retire.
Okay, a classic setup.
Yeah. And the movie sees him making this dramatic comeback. He gets called back into F1 by his old friend, Ruben Cervantes, who owns the APXGP team. He's played by Javier Bardem.
And Hayes isn't just coming back to drive.
No, his main job, initially at least, is to mentor this young prodigy driver on the team. So you've got this immediate dynamic. The seasoned veteran and the raw talent.
The comeback arc. And who's the young prodigy?
That's Joshua Noah Pierce, played by Damson Idris. He's a hotshot rookie, and his relationship with Hayes, that dynamic, drives a lot of the film's conflict.
You can already imagine the tension.
Oh, yeah. There's an early example they've talked about at Silverstone. Pierce tries this super aggressive pass, maybe too aggressive, and ends up spinning both himself and Hayes out of the race. It perfectly sets up that classic F1 problem Bruckheimer mentioned.
Your teammate is your competitor.
Exactly. You're supposed to work together for the team, score points.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you want to beat the person in the identical car next to you. It's built-in conflict.
A nightmare for team principals, I bet.
Totally. And the film leans into that.
Yeah.
APXGP is struggling. They desperately need points. Otherwise, the team might get sold off.
So the stakes are incredibly high.
It's immense. Sonny Hayes, the veteran coming back, he's basically their last-ditch hope for a miracle. All that pressure's on him and on how he manages or competes with his young teammate.
Sounds like a recipe for some serious drama. Okay, for everyone listening, mark your calendars. International release is June 25th, 2025, and North America gets it June 27th, 2025.
Definitely one to look forward to.
All right, let's shift gears. Literally, we need to talk about what really makes this movie sound unique. The push for unprecedented authenticity, putting you in the driver's seat.
Yeah, this is where things get really wild. The logistics of how they filmed this, it's kind of mind-boggling.
They filmed during actual F1 race weekends? How is that even possible?
With extreme difficulty. Kosinski stressed that point they were not on our own schedule. Imagine trying to film movie scenes amidst the controlled chaos of a live Grand Prix weekend.
Madness. Absolute madness.
Right. He said they worked in very, very tight windows. Sometimes just minutes between official F1 sessions, practice, qualifying.
So no leisurely setups?
None. Kosinski called the whole process a pit stop. That intense, that fast, that precise. And doing it all in front of hundreds of thousands of real fans at the tracks. That has a whole other layer of pressure and energy.
Wow. And they didn't just stick to one place. They filmed all over the world, right? At real circuits.
Yeah, hitting some iconic locations. Silverstone in the UK was a huge one. Apparently key to the story. They got incredible access there in both 2023 and 2024.
And elsewhere.
Places like Spa in Belgium, Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, the Hungaroring in Hungary, even the Las Vegas street circuit. Each track brings its own look, its own challenges.
Yeah.
Adds so much visual scope.
And they filmed outside of F1 too. Something about Daytona.
That's right. To build Sonny Hayes' backstory, his comeback journey, they filmed scenes at the Daytona 24 Hours race. Pitt's character is shown racing a Porsche 911 GTD car there.
Ah, so showing his path back before F1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Likely a shorter sequence, but it helps ground his return to the absolute pinnacle of motorsport later in the film. Makes it feel earned.
The scale is just immense. But shooting over 2 different years, especially with those strikes happening, that must have caused headaches.
Huge headaches. Continuity nightmares. Think about it. Real F1 teams change sponsors. They change liveries, the paint jobs on their cars, season to season.
Right. So the cars in the background might look different from 2023 to 2024.
Precisely. The producers had this massive, almost invisible job to ensure continuity. Meticulously matching footage shot a year apart. Insane attention to detail.
I heard a funny story that Brad Pitt actually got so into the driving, he sometimes didn't want to stop filming, just wanted to keep doing laps.
I can believe it. It sounds like it was an incredibly immersive experience for the actors, too. But yeah, managing that visual consistency across seasons, a massive undertaking.
Which brings us neatly to the tech they used to capture it all, the cameras.
Okay, this is where Kosinski's background really comes into play. Remember, he trained as an architectural engineer. He's not just thinking like a director, he's thinking like an inventor.
So he didn't just use off-the-shelf cameras.
Far from it. He spent a year working directly with Sony, developing 25 different camera prototypes just for this movie.
25? Wow.
Yes, nuts. And these weren't just slight variations. They were designing miniaturized, large sensor lenses capable of shooting in IMAX quality.
Okay, break that down. Small cameras, but huge image quality.
Exactly. Small enough to fit into tiny spaces on the car, places you could never normally put an IMAX-grade camera, but capturing that huge, detailed spectacle. The goal was those intimate, intense shots from inside the action.
So how did they mount all these new cameras?
They partnered with Mercedes, who obviously know a thing or two about F1 cars, and built 6 custom camera cars.
Not just modified cars, but custom built.
Yep, Kosinski called them the most sophisticated vehicle ever built for shooting a movie. Sounds like hyperbole, but maybe not.
What made them so special?
Each one could hold up to 16 stabilized camera mounts. 16. All wired up with fiber optic cables to internal batteries. It meant they could get smooth, dynamic shots from almost any angle while keeping up with the race cars.
Incredible. And I heard something about iPhones being involved too.
Yeah, that's another cool innovation. Apple apparently developed an enhanced iPhone camera specifically for this.
Like a super iPhone camera?
Kind of. It could shoot 4K raw video, which is pro-level quality, but the key was its size. It was designed to fit into the existing small camera slots that F1 teams already use for their broadcast feeds.
Clever. So they could get those authentic cockpit point-of-view shots during actual races.
Exactly. Looking right through the driver's visor, seeing the track blur past, feeling the vibration. Super immersive.
But Kosinski had another trick up his sleeve, some kind of remote-controlled rig.
Ah, yeah, what he called maybe his greatest invention for the film. A remote rig developed with Panavision. It had 4 cameras on it that could pan 180 degrees, wirelessly controlled. So imagine this. You can see the car tearing down the track, and then the camera smoothly pans inside the cockpit to show the driver's face, their reactions, all in one seamless shot. No cuts.
Whoa, that really puts you there.
That's the idea. Kosinski said it gives you the sensation of really being there, connecting you to the action like never before, eliminating that distance.
And the end result, Brad Pitt seemed pretty impressed.
He really did. He said it's the most visceral feeling you will get in a race car of anything put on film. High praise. He felt it really brings that feeling of speed back. It sounds like they achieved that goal of engineering and experience.
It's not just tech, though. The actors had to actually drive these things, right? Or something close to them.
Oh, absolutely. The training was intense, especially for Brad Pitt. He didn't just show up and pretend. He properly learned to race, partly under the guidance of Lewis Hamilton himself.
That's amazing. Driving with Lewis Hamilton.
Imagine. And it wasn't just a quick lesson. Pitt logged some serious track time. The figure mentioned is 750-plus kilometers in an F2 car on Paul Ricard.
Okay, 750 kilometers, that's a lot. And F2 cars, those are pretty serious machines, right? Just below F1?
Very serious. Fast, demanding. It shows incredible dedication from Pitt. And when he was asked what the hardest part was,
What did he say?
first thing is trusting these brakes, which tells you everything about the forces involved. These cars stop on a dime, pulling insane Gs.
So the actors needed physical training too, not just driving skills.
Definitely. They mentioned rigorous downforce training to prevent injury. You need to condition your body, especially your neck and core, to handle those G-forces in corners and under braking. Otherwise, you literally can't hold your head up.
So Pitt was driving modified F2 cars, you said, made to look like F1 cars.
Yeah, they fitted them with F1-style parts, the nose cone, the rear wings, side pods, so visually they looked the part, and importantly, they'd simulate some of the aerodynamic effects of an F1 car.
Did they actually drive them fast? Or was it all movie magic?
Oh, they pushed it. Pitt told Martin Brundle, the F1 commentator, "You've never seen speed. You've never seen G-forces like this. It's really, really exciting." He was genuinely buzzing from it.
But there must have been safety limits initially.
There were. Standard procedure. But the production team actually pushed back a bit. They argued they needed to go faster, especially in the turns.
Faster for safety, how does that work?
Downforce. These cars rely on airflow pushing them onto the track. Go too slow in a corner, and you don't generate enough downforce, meaning less grip. So paradoxically, going faster can sometimes be safer, or at least handle better.
Right, makes sense. I heard a crazy story about an early test run.
The crash, yeah. Apparently, on one of the first runs without the speed restrictions, there was a pretty decent shunt.
Oh, wow.
Anyone hurt? No, thankfully. And the funny, or maybe darkly funny, outcome was that it kind of proved the car's safety structure was robust. Like, okay, it's safe enough to crash.
That's one way to look at it. And there were other unscripted moments, accidental overtakes.
Apparently so. Which must have been tricky for filming continuity, but it just underlines how real the driving was. They weren't just pottering around, they were properly racing at times.
That commitment to realism, even risking controlled crashes, it's intense.
It really shows how seriously they took portraying the raw edge, the risks, the demands of F1. It had to feel real.
Okay, so we've got the vision, the story set up, the incredible tech, the intense training. Let's talk about the people on screen, the cast and the cameos.
Right. So leading the line, obviously, Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes, the returning veteran.
And Damson Idris as Joshua Pierce, the young rookie he's mentoring. Their dynamic sounds central.
Absolutely. That friction, that mentorship, that competition, it's the core relationship driving the emotional side of the story.
And the supporting cast.
Yeah.
We mentioned Javier Bardem as the team owner, Ruben Cervantes.
Yep. And there was that description of him as potentially a ruthless rival owner in one piece, which adds an interesting edge. Is he just Sonny's friend, or is there more to it?
Intriguing.
Yeah.
And Carrie Condon.
She plays the team principal, described as no nonsense. Every F1 team needs that firm hand guiding things, managing the drivers, the strategy.
Definitely. Tobias Menzies is in it too, role unconfirmed in the outline, but you mentioned maybe a financier.
Yeah, that was some speculation floating around that he might play someone involved in the business side, perhaps linked to the team being potentially sold. Adds another layer of pressure.
But what really boosts the authenticity is the real F1 presence, right?
Hugely. This is beyond just actors. They got actual F1 drivers involved from the 2023 season.
Like who?
Well, Lewis Hamilton, obviously, who might even have a cameo as himself. But also names like Max Verstappen, the current champ, Carlos Sainz Jr. from Ferrari, Sergio Perez from Red Bull.
Wow. So current top drivers.
Yeah. Just having them appear, even briefly, or just being part of the real race weekends where filming happened, it adds this incredible layer of genuine F1 atmosphere. You can't fake that.
And Lewis Hamilton's role went way beyond just maybe appearing on screen.
Oh, massively. As you said, producer, creative consultant. He was like their F1 authenticity guru.
Shaping the script, advising on technical stuff.
Everything. Kosinski said Hamilton's input was vital for scenes exploring why someone races, the motivation. He said, we couldn't make the film without him. His influence seems really profound. He even apparently inspired parts of Sonny Hayes' character arc.
That's incredible buy-in from someone at the absolute peak of the sport.
It really is. And another smart move for authenticity was involving the Sky Sports F1 commentators.
David Croft and Martin Brundle, their voices are F1 for so many people.
Exactly. They're described as almost ever-present in the movie. And it's not just for color. They serve a crucial function, especially for people new to F1.
Explaining the jargon, the strategy.
Right. Making that complex chess game of race strategy tires, DRS, pit stops accessible without it feeling like you're being lectured. It's a really clever integration.
Have any of the real drivers actually seen the film yet? What do they think?
Some have, yeah. And the feedback sounds incredibly positive. Max Verstappen praised the camera work, the incredible scenes, how they got cameras onto the cars.
High praise for Max.
Definitely. Pierre Gasly apparently said, Pitt makes us all look very good as Formula One drivers, which suggests the portrayal felt convincing.
And Lewis.
Lewis seemed really proud, but also wanted honest feedback from other drivers, even about potential minor inaccuracies in strategy timing or pit stops. That desire for authenticity runs deep.
Getting that kind of validation from inside the F1 paddock from the drivers who actually do it, that's probably the best review they could hope for.
It really is.
Yeah.
It suggests they nailed the feeling, the intensity, even while telling their own cinematic story.
Which brings us to that balance, weaving the authenticity with the necessary cinematic drama, and of course, the soundtrack that powers it all.
Yeah, finding that line is key. And Kosinski was quite open about how they approached it. He said nearly every situation in F1 is inspired by real events, even the crashes.
So even though APXGP is fictional, the things that happen to them are rooted in F1 history.
Largely, yes. It's not just random Hollywood invention. It gives the drama weight, makes it feel plausible within that world, even if they're compressing events.
Can you give some specific examples they drew from?
Sure. That core teammate conflict, Hayes versus Pierce, as pure F1, happens all the time. Bruckheimer's quote again. Teammate is your competitor.
Right. What else?
Hayes' character apparently uses some tricks, maybe clipping another car, spilling gravel onto the track strategically, asking for a combat car setup.
Sounds a bit dodgy.
It echoes controversial real-life incidents. Think about the Crashgate scandal in 2008 in Singapore, where there were allegations of a deliberate crash to manipulate the race outcome.
Ah, okay. So drawing from the darker side of F1 history, too.
Seems like it. There's also a scene mentioned where the rookie, Pierce, ignores advice about tires in the rain and crashes, flipping the car.
Ouch.
That sounds very similar to a real spectacular crash involving Alex Peroni in an F3 race at Monza back in 2019 where his car launched off a curb.
Wow, specific parallels.
And even a strategic moment in the finale, Hayes getting fresh soft tires under a red flag condition in Abu Dhabi, that's described as a plausible, if maybe uncommon, real F1 strategy call.
So it's like they took years of F1 drama and condensed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Luciano Bacchetta, an F1 expert involved, put it perfectly. Everything that happened in the movie has happened in real life. It just hasn't happened all in 2 hours.
That captures it perfectly. It's heightened reality.
And Kosinski's goal was to push right all the way to the line without crossing it, in terms of authenticity. Finding how far Sonny could bend the rules without fully breaking them.
What does the actual F1 organization think? Stefano Domenicali, the F1 boss.
He seems pragmatic. He acknowledged that hardcore fans might spot small discrepancies, but believes general audiences will just see it as authentic fighting, which is the main goal for a movie. Smart approach.
And beyond the big dramatic moments, does it get into the nitty-gritty of F1?
It sounds like it does. Capturing the pressure on the pit crews during those blink-and-you-miss-it stops, the energy in the garage, the technicians.
Strategy stuff, too. DRS, tires.
Yeah, discussions about the drag reduction system, that wing flap that opens for overtaking and tire strategy, which is to offer the deciding factor in races. Having Croft and Brundle there helps explain that chess game aspect.
Okay, so the story sounds grounded. What about the sound? The soundtrack must be pretty important for a movie like this.
Crucial. And they've put together something pretty special called F1, the album.
And it's produced by the same team who did the Barty album.
That's the one, which immediately signals, a big, high-profile, commercially savvy approach. They're aiming for a soundtrack that stands on its own.
Who's on it? Any big names?
Oh, yeah, it's stacked. You've got huge artists like Ed Sheeran. He has a track called Drive. There's Rosé from Blackpink was Messy. Don Toliver has a single with Doja Cat called Lose My Mind.
Wow, that's diverse already.
And it keeps going. Electronic acts like Dom Dalla, Peggy Go, pop stars like Tate McRae, Madison Beer, hip-hop from Burna Boy, Roddy Ricch, Mike Towers, Tiesto working with Sexy Red, even country superstar Chris Stapleton.
Good grief. And African artists, too.
Yep. Mr. Easy, Darku, and Obong Dayar. He actually has 2 tracks mentioned, Gasoline and Just Cool. It's a genuinely global mix, reflecting F1's own global reach.
Are there older songs, too? Or is it all new stuff?
They've mixed in some absolute classic rock anthems as well. Stuff that just screams power and adrenaline.
Like what?
Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love, Rats Round and Round, Queen's We Will Rock You. Massive stadium tracks that fit perfectly with the F1 spectacle.
That sounds like a killer combination. New hits and classic rock.
Definitely. And the full album, plus the other songs, they're all available on the usual streaming places, Apple Music, Spotify, so you can really dive into the sound of the film.
It feels like every element, the visuals, the story, the sound, it's all working towards that total immersion goal.
Absolutely. It's a comprehensive approach, creating a whole sensory experience.
So as we kind of head towards the final lap on this deep dive, what's the takeaway? What's the lasting legacy F1 the movie is aiming for?
Well, the immediate goal is clearly that immersion, making you feel the speed, feel the G-forces. But I think it's also about understanding the world behind the visor.
The pressure, the perfectionism.
Exactly. The sheer dedication required, the fine margins between success and failure, even the heartbreak that's just part of the sport at that level. Translating that human element, not just the mechanical one.
It raises an interesting question, though. When filmmaking pushes this hard to capture reality so viscerally, what does that mean for the future of movies?
That's a great point. Does this level of hyper-authenticity become the new standard for action or sports films?
And could it do more than just entertain? Like, could it genuinely spark a new wave of interest in F1 the way Top Gun Maverick did for aviation?
It certainly could. The Drive to Survive effect on Netflix showed there's a massive appetite for F1 stories. This could take it to another level.
Or maybe even inspire people on a personal level. Seeing Sonny Hayes make this improbable comeback. Could that resonate beyond racing?
I think so. That theme of resilience, pushing limits, maybe finding a second act. That's pretty universal, isn't it? It taps into something deeper than just fast cars.
It definitely feels like there's more going on than just a racing movie. And speaking of more, sequel potential.
Well, Brad Pitt himself has apparently joked, or maybe not joked, about being keen for a sequel, even if he just comes back as a team boss next time.
Still involved, just behind the pit wall.
Exactly. It suggests they feel there's more story to tell in this F1 cinematic world they've built. The off-track strategy and drama is just as compelling.
It certainly sounds like a film that aims to leave a lasting impression.
All signs point to it. A massive undertaking, technically and narratively.
And that wraps our checkered flag moment with F1, the movie. If you enjoyed revving through the facts with us, follow roll credits and share with your fellow film and racing fans. We'll be back soon with more behind-the-scenes stories, more movie magic, and maybe a few more laps.